At the heart of every project is an estimate that turns into a signed contract that ultimately leads to a budget for your staff to record their time against. Everything in MM360 kind of moves along that line where we create the project, we create the estimate, that creates the budgets that we can then schedule and record our time against. Let's look at the estimates overall. To get to the estimates, we click on the estimate icon, and then we can click on Add Estimate. Every estimate that you create can have a name. This name is visible to your clients. This is a great opportunity for you to create estimates that are specific to each client. I'm just going to call this one Full Turnkey. When we create an estimate, it's going to do several things for us. Based on how we have our services configured, it's going to select a lot of those services for us by default so we don't have to go in and do as many modifications to this estimate based on what we typically estimate for. After we select the client that's going to be signing for it, we're going to come down here and we're going to see that the estimate has several boxes here. The first one is this density. What this is referring to is a tool that the estimator can use to automatically estimate what an cost is going to be for your job. And the O and the D here reference origination and destination. And the numbers that follow represent the square footage that we're going to be working within. We'll come back to this here in a moment. The next piece of the estimator is the touch level multiplier, where we can select what level of touch this client is going to require. Medium would be average. High is about 50% more effort is going to be required by this client, typically because they have a memory care issue or they have a POA who might be out of state. And then you have very high, where you have an extenuating circumstance that is going to make this very difficult to work with, whether it be a medical or psychological issue, a mental health issue, or that you have out-of-state POAs that are multiples that you are having to navigate. And then you have low, which is rarely ever used, but this is typically done whenever the client has passed away and they're not involved and the family is just looking to have the estate cleared. Then down here we have our services. Now you can see it already has a total on here of 12,810. That is because it has certain services turned on by default and it's using the density levels up here of 2,000 square feet for the origination and the destination. When we look at our services, we can see they are grouped by their parent item. In this case, we have them plotted out in the order in which we would do the work. That's how we break it down so that we can show it to our client in a manner that allows us to tell them the process in which we're going to execute the work for them. So we have planning the move, packing services, moving and resettlement, dispersals and cleanouts, and then we have options for estate, sale, or an auction, and then some direct cost items. When we expand on these, we can see certain ones have been selected, and then certain ones have not. When we look at them, in this case space planning, and we click on Customize, we can see a long description that has been put in here by default that we can change. We can also see a short description here where we can click to edit this and change it to reflect our scope of work. Once we're done, we would click on Update that short description. Here we can change the order, whether or not it's going to be billed to the client, or we can calculate the amount manually and change the amount that it's calculated. Now this particular service is using the square footage to determine what it thinks the price should be for space planning. When we look at the direct cost items down here, we can see some in here that are still using the square footage, and others that if we select them, we can put in the number of hours we think it's going to take, and it's calculating up our hourly rate times the number of hours. So if we wanted to make it more, we can use the plus to get it there, or we can tap into here and put in a higher number, like 80. If we click on Customize, we can further customize the description and modify the short description, or just override the total by default and just say it's going to be $5,000 even. In a similar way, where this is hourly, we have other services down here like packing supplies. This is being calculated using the square footage, and we can override the amount and put in what we would like here. Down here, we have a setup for the moving truck rental. How many trucks are we going to rent? It's $150 per truck. Or TV mounting. We're going to mount 3 TVs for $750. All these services here tally up down here at the bottom, and we can see our services total here. What we're going to go over next is how to configure each one of these services based on the type of billing that we want to do and the type of estimating we want to do. If we want to use the square footage, or if we just want to put in an hourly rate, or a custom amount for out-of-pocket expenses. Let's look at each of these individually.